A plea tonight to government not to cut the National Summer Camp program. The concern from attorney at law and UNICEF Children's Champion Faith Marshall-Harris. She says because of this program, the courts have seen fewer juvenile cases before them.
I am hoping and praying that we don't get rid of the things that are beneficial to children. And I am saying specifically that I'm worrying about, say, the summer camps. Having been on the bench and saw it firsthand, and since then, knowing that children in this country have gained significantly from the fact that we've had the national summer camps. Because prior to that, children ran wild in the summer. A lot of them did, because both mother and father were at work or in circumstances where they lived with mother and aunt.
Ms. Marshall-Harris is also telling government to ensure no two breadwinners in households are sent home because of pending layoffs. She says this will have a drastic effect on family life.
We would tend to approach something remembering that, yes, you've got an economic goal in mind, but that there are people that are going to have to deal with this, and that the ultimate fallout will be impactful on people. So that I think that if we can maintain that kind of attitude, and if therefore people can draw comfort on it, they won't be at each other's throats and it wouldn't cause a family breakdown. If at least, you know, there is that positive going forward. There's less money because there might be only one breadwinner now. There might be a sole breadwinner, but that there will be some understanding.
Opposition spokesman on economic affairs, Dr. Clyde Maskell, says new central bank information shows Barbadian workers are not as unproductive as they're reported to be. Speaking at a press conference at the opposition's office this afternoon, he suggested that locals are stepping up during the harsh economic period, but they're being hurt by high prices. He says the evidence can be found in the latest central bank report on the real output per worker, nominal and real unit labor 1991 to 2012.
This diagram on page 2 is indicative of the fact that Barbados workers during this very trying period have indeed increased their productivity as measured by the central bank, whereas their compensation has fallen in real terms. Now that contradicts all that we've been hearing, because we were told that in this environment we have to be concerned about the productivity of workers in Barbados.
However, Dr. Maskell criticized the report, saying growth of less than 1% does not inspire confidence. He also commented on Barbados' decision to work with the IMF during the economic crisis.
There's nothing so bad about the IMF. Let nobody convince you about that. The IMF did wonders for Barbados in the early 1990s. I'm telling you, because it was directly involved in the academic part of it, that is behind the scenes of the economists. Now, the IMF brings with it a whole set of expertise and knowledge. It brings with it systems that you can utilize. The thing is that you need leadership. All you need to do to tell the IMF is that, hey, I am leading the country, I need your help, but these are the parameters in which you will operate.
Outgoing General Secretary of the Barbados Workers' Union, Sir Roy Trotman, has put forward to government a proposal similar to the Eminent Persons Group suggested by Leader of the Opposition, Mia Mottley. During a press conference at Solidarity House yesterday, Sir Roy said although the group he imagined has a common goal with that of the opposition leader, the two remain different.
The term Eminent Persons Group, I think, was intended to have a smaller body of people, maybe only to have 5 or 6 persons. It would seem to me that we would fail to capture all of the ideas if we limited ourselves to that, and maybe a dozen or 13 or so persons might help.
He says that this proposal has been well received.
The Minister took note of that proposal, and even before he came to the meeting on Tuesday, Minister St. Clair and Minister Suku took note of the proposal which we had put, and they said that they would give it favorable thought, and on Tuesday they indicated that it is a positive position which the government is looking favorably upon, and we've been asked to make any suggestions we have regarding who might help in that.
The Barbados Workers Union General Secretary says talks will continue this week and into next week between his union and various statutory corporations such as the Barbados Transport Board, the National Conservation Commission and the Barbados Water Authority. Spikes Down will be one of the focal points this year as the National Cultural Foundation follows through with a promise to take Cropover into communities. This disclosure from Minister of Culture Stephen Lashley during the launch of Cropover last evening. He adds that the foundation has a number of initiatives planned for 2014 which form part of its 40th anniversary celebrations, and that the St. Peter town will have its share of activities. The Culture Minister also disclosed plans for a special Monarchs concert at Kensington Oval, an anniversary lecture and a Cropover bus crawl.
The ever-popular Bridgetown Market will be expanded. I'm very pleased to announce that we shall also be introducing a Spikes Down Market. Those of you who attended the cruise to Spikes Down will attest to the fact that we had a phenomenal event, and certainly the discussions with persons who attended that told us that Spikes Down wanted to be a full part of Cropover.
Well, there are to be 3 cavalcades this year. The first will be held at Weymouth on the 3rd of May. The others are at Gall Hill St. John and Watton Christchurch. Mr. Lashley says other new community-oriented events include a Christchurch Carnival from Silver Sands to Watton on Monday the 9th of June.
To facilitate these community partnerships, the NCF will be adding a community desk manned by a coordinator who will act as a liaison between the NCF and these external parties. The coordinator will, of course, offer vital guidance and advice. In addition to the community desk, the foundation will also be organizing a number of new training sessions called the Producers Checklist for community groups. And this session will allow the NCF to share its event producing expertise to provide advice and guidance in the production of community events.
The Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation has a new Director of News and Current Affairs. She is Michelle Arthur. Ms. Arthur, who worked previously at the Barbados Advocate as a reporter, joined the CBC News team in 1988. The former Queen's College student holds a Bachelor of Science Honours degree in Labour and Employment Relations. She is currently pursuing a Masters of Science degree in the same discipline. She previously served as assignments editor. That appointment took effect from the 15th of January. The multi-million-dollar conversion of Church Village into an amphitheatre and community park is rapidly nearing completion. In fact, it should be finished by the end of the month. Over the last week, the roadway alongside the park has been closed to vehicular traffic to allow for paving, which should be done next week. The project, undertaken by the Barbados Tourism Investment Incorporated, has been funded by the Caribbean Development Bank. It will be divided into 2 sections, featuring the use of renewable energy with solar lighting and rainwater harvesting systems. BTI officials have indicated that it will be a public space for concerts, exhibitions and more. It will be able to accommodate 200 people seated and 1,000 standing. The park is expected to complement the ongoing rehabilitation work on the nearby Constitution River. Work on the Church Village project got underway on April 30th, 2012. A Canadian recruiting company is looking to Barbados to fill several vacancies in that North American country, mostly in industry and the hospitality sector. Diamond Global will be hosting a job fair for 2 days, starting tomorrow, Friday, at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Centre. The Vice President of the company, Benjamin Goff, says Barbados is a likely choice because of its highly trained workers, proximity to Canada, and easy travel to that country. Mr. Goff lauded the government, particularly the National Employment Bureau and the Ministry of Labour, for working closely with Diamond to make the fair a reality. Stressing that his company is reputable, Mr. Goff says the workers' wages will be protected and they'll be able to access the same benefits as resident Canadians. He says working in Canada is a viable option for Barbadians.
The ideal candidate for our employers and for Canada in general is somebody who's looking for an adventure, who's looking for a new experience. This is going to involve a lot of change. While I think that this is definitely a culture that is positioned to be successful with this change, the temperature is cold in certain areas. You know, there are some major differences throughout our two cultures, so you have to be prepared to experience that change. The people we're looking for have a positive attitude, have a strong work ethic, are looking for a long-term commitment, and what I mean by that is, 2 years, maybe more. Somebody who's looking for an adventure, who's looking for maybe some new life experiences and to learn a few things that will benefit Barbados in the long term when they bring that back.
The job fair starts tomorrow morning at the Lord Erskine Sandiford Centre from 9, runs until 5 p.m. Anyone planning to attend is asked to bring a resume. A new government program promises a dynamic $40 million upgrade to Barbados' employment pool. This Skills for the Future program, funded by the Inter-American Development Bank, was launched under the Ministry of Education, Science, Technology and Innovation. It aims to review the skill sets offered by secondary and post-secondary institutions and make them more relevant to the present day and future global demands. The Chief Planning and Research Officer in the Ministry of Labour, Social Security and Human Resource Development, Mark Franklin, says this aligns with the government's human resource strategy.
That basically seeks to have a closer relationship with the private sector employers, where we try to find out what their needs are, and we try to get ideas to their needs and channel that information to the major training institutions, so that we have a closer relationship between between the type of graduate that the training institutions are putting out and what employers are demanding that they want their particular workers to have in terms of their skill sets and so on.
The Skills for the Future program is supported by a number of organizations, including the Barbados Coalition of Service Industries. Executive Director of the BCSI, Lisa Cummins, says although Barbados has a skilled population, those skills must be diversified to service the demands of both the domestic and foreign markets.
So when we see work permits being advertised for, and it is because the skills are not available domestically, what does that say to you? It says that yes, you may have a skilled population, but there are still skills gaps. It says that there are areas where potentially you can meet domestic demand, but at the same time, you can create the demand in such a way that it services your domestic needs, it services your skills and your needs for industry for the future, but most importantly, it creates you with a skills and a knowledge base that can then be exported as a service and then in turn generate much needed foreign exchange for the country.
Well, there are promises by both government and the private sector to reverse a trend in the declining attendance of pupils at rural primary schools. St. Lucie MP Dennis Kelman says their parents are increasingly eager to send them to schools in the urban areas. He attributes this to poor roads and inconvenient routes, which the MP says affect schools like Ignatius Bayer Primary in St. Lucie.
Anyone who knows St. Lucie would know that even though it is just a short way away from this school, that to travel here is a long distance because you have to go back through Holt Road, down River Bay, out to Holt Road, use the shortcut to Spring Garden, to Chance Hall, and then you have to walk all up here. But if you had the bridge, all you have to do, leave River Bay, come to Bishop's through Coconut Hall, and you will be right here.
The MP promised, as the Minister of Housing and Lands, to put forward the proposal to the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Finance. And private entities such as the Aaron and Christina Foundation promised to lend assistance to the cause by equipping all Class 3 students at the Ignatius Bayer Primary with electronic tablets to aid common interest preparations. At a presentation yesterday, sponsored by Keith Morris, co-trustee of the foundation, Aaron Trust said it targets schools in rural areas.
Now be in 8 primary schools, government primary schools, with a total of around 250 tablets. Now, as I mentioned, it is a long-term commitment, so that is 250 tablets this year, but the start of the next academic year in September, we would be providing a minimum of 250 tablets again. If we can secure additional funding between now and then, we would hope to add additional schools. So our goal is pretty much to include all of the primary schools in the rural areas in our project.
Law enforcement officials in the United States are reportedly on the hunt in the Caribbean for a man who is considered one of the 15 most wanted fugitives in the world. He is 49-year-old Andre Neverson, a Trinidad and Tobago national who is considered armed and dangerous. Police say Neverson is a suspect in a double murder and is believed to be hiding in Barbados or one of the neighboring Caribbean islands. He is reported to have killed his sister and an ex-girlfriend back in 2002. At the time of both murders, lawmen say Neverson was on parole in the state of New York for attempted murder in the second degree, assault in the first degree, and criminal possession of a firearm. Neverson is about 6 feet 2 inches tall, 240 pounds, and usually keeps his head shaved, but has also been known to wear wigs to disguise himself. The U.S. official also says he has a violent criminal history with a pronounced pattern of violence towards women. Neverson reportedly speaks several languages and is computer savvy.